everyone and welcome to the channel. In today's video we are going to be talking about the pros and cons of master's degree. So if you're all not aware of it, I have done a master's degree while doing full-time training in the UK on an international fees, and I obviously get a lot of questions regarding how I did it, and financially speaking, also in terms of emotionally, physically, mentally, all of that stuff that gets asked quite often. I have made one video regarding it, but obviously it's not as detailed because I don't like to make very long videos. So therefore, in today's video, we are going to talk about masters. We are going to talk about bits and bobs of some of the questions that I've received so far about it. But essentially, my major goal for this video is to give you the pros and cons so that you can decide whether you need a master's degree. Do you want to do it? And again, obviously, there must be some struggles behind doing it. It's not easy to do it with a full-time training job. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Right, so firstly, let's talk about the reasons or the pros that you might think that you need a master's degree. Obviously, essentially, you're already a doctor. You do not need another master's degree in terms of being a doctor, if that makes any sense. So why do people go for a master's degree, or why did I choose to do a master's degree? There are several factors. The first one obviously is learning. When you come from a different country where there's no research, there's no actual stuff done on an undergraduate level, you're not really trained to do many things, one of which was critical appraisals. The other thing is writing up grants, abstract writing, academic, anything basically. And anything academic requires, terminologies, mindsets, language, all of which obviously you get taught on how to do it in a master's degree, which was one of my strongest reasons to think about a master's degree in the first place. One of those days when the hair isn't hairing, is that today's one of those days? Stay behind. Okay. The next thing that you think about is actually, do I need one? Depends on what kind of training you're doing. So say, for example, if you're doing something in immunology or microbiology or pathology or, the training pathways, you do need some sort of an academic know-how. Also, you do end up doing a lot more with your master's degree than, say, for example, somebody who's in complete clinical medicine. So yeah, it is one of those things. If you are in a training pathway where you think that actually doing one is going to give me a lot more in terms of clinical acumen, along with, other pursuits, interests, research related things, then yes, that is one of the reasons that you would think about a master's degree. Thirdly, obviously now that you've known a little bit about academics, you know a little bit about stats, you know a little bit about everything. The third thing that could make you do a master's degree is essentially to improve your CV. Which I don't think is a very, very strong motivator in terms of completing a master's degree. You may join one, but the completion thing is completely dependent on motivation. We haven't talked about the cons yet, but I'll go through those in a bit. And so essentially, if you are not motivated enough, then just trying to improve your CV is not a good enough reason to do a master's. You might think it is. It may get you to actually get involved in a master's somehow. But going through it, you would start feeling like, oh my God, what am I doing to my life? Because just improving a CV from a master's degree isn't worth it. The thing that I got most out of my master's degree, besides obviously doing the master's, doing the research, learning all the bits and pieces that I've already talked about, was being able to write abstracts and publish things which weren't related to my master's. So essentially, because of the skills that I had learned, not only was I able to join journal clubs and things in the departments and the hospitals that I was a part of, also I was part of some business plans in the hospitals that I've worked in, introducing tests, finding and implementing guidelines and, big stuff that I got involved in once I had, gotten enough knowledge about what is evidence-based medicine, which obviously I got through my master's. But the thing that I enjoyed the most, which I still enjoy a lot, is writing up abstracts of projects that I have done, or help other people write abstracts when they've done a project. And they all get published. Mostly all of them have gotten either poster presentations, or I've been lucky enough to actually be invited for oral presentations, to be presenting in international conferences on a big platform. It's quite a big deal. And it all comes when you sort of combine your knowledge of evidence-based practice, quality improvement projects, audits, and then again, academic writing, abstract writing, business plans, and getting involved with the hospital administration, all of that stuff. It all comes in one thing when you kind of do a master's. Our master's in medicine, because mine was a medicine master's, so it was clinical related along with research based stuff, is quite different from other people who do masters, say for example in AI or mathematics or other bits. Our masters is quite different because we are incorporating a lot of other things in our masters rather than just, research. So I got a lot out of my masters, and I believe that it is one of those things, if you can, you should think about it. But let's talk about cons and what is the kind of thing that could actually stop you. Firstly and foremostly, financially, it's very, very hard, especially if you are on an international visa like me. You will be paying double, sometimes triple the amount of an actual master's for somebody who's from the UK. So if you can't afford it, there's no point of enrolling yourself into one. The second thing that I would say is, because I was doing a full-time training job, it's quite hard because I haven't talked about ARCPs or appraisals yet on my channel, because I believe that, oh my god, this is one of the most stressful things. Once I get a hang of it, I probably might make videos regarding guidance about how to do those. But yeah, it's quite stressful when you're doing full-time training because you're expected to do a lot of DOPS, ACACs, LMATs, a lot of stuff that needs to be done on your portfolio. It needs to be present at the end of every year. And if you're doing a master's, it's like an added thing. No one's going to be like, oh, well done, I'm now good on you. No, that's not going to happen. So you have to show up every day for your clinical stuff, your training, your, clinical job requirements, your on-calls, your exams. Like, all of that is a part of your added masters. So it becomes quite difficult, especially if you are somebody who wants to do well on both ends. So if you are somebody who thinks that they don't have good time management skills, then definitely do not opt for a master's while you're training, because it is going to become very, very difficult. Time management is one thing, which I've already said, very, very difficult to manage with your on-calls and your exams and your clinical stuff. But also it does take a toll on your mental health. That would be my third point, because essentially you're doing it by yourself. There's nobody else, there's no help. Because if you're doing it, online, there's no classroom, there's no mates, there's nobody to guide you. Your only point of contact with your online, university would be, usually there is a pastoral person who can help you. They use your educational supervisor equivalent. Then you have a clinical supervisor equivalent, which would be somebody who will be leading that module. And that two people, that's it. So you don't really get a lot of guidance or support in terms of mates or people who are going through the same thing. I was lucky enough to have an incredible support system, which was through my educational supervisor and my module leads through my master's. But as I said, there was nobody else to get guidance from. There's no classmates, there's no classrooms. You never go to a university because it's all online, as you're doing it part-time online. And that would be one of my things, is like, it's a pro and a con at the same time, because you can't do a full-time master's essentially with your training, and you can't do a part-time physical master's as well, because then you will have to travel to whatever university you are supposed to be doing your master's from, and that makes it, quite problematic in terms of commute, your job, and your rota, and all of that comes into play. So those are the things that I would suggest you should be thinking about as a con when you're thinking about masters, because as I said, it's an additional thing. You are doing it for yourself. You are doing it to improve yourself. You're not doing it for anybody else. So you have to show up every day. Yeah, I think these are my pros and cons of why you should think about a master's and what may actually stop you from doing one. I hope this was a helpful video. Do give the video a huge thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. And as usual, if you have questions regarding it, I do have a few lined up regarding masters because I've received questions. But yeah, do send them on Instagram or comment down below on YouTube, and I will make further videos regarding how to go about it, what is the process of getting into it, and how do you even search universities. I will make those videos. But yeah, comment down below. I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.